Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Shotcallers podcast. Thank you guys for joining us again. It's been just a short time since our last episode. If you guys weren't able to check your podcast feeds, we did have a Christmas Day recap that posted last Friday night, Saturday morning. So please check that out if you missed it and want to hear our takes on those underwhelming Christmas Day games. Not going to lie. But I'm here with my man, the myth, the guy that is the security expert, podcaster, basketball enthusiast, Andre West. Say what's up to the people, Andre.
What's going on, people? Glad to be back. How was your holiday, Rich?
Oh, it was real quiet, real chill. Spent some time with some very important folks. Made me quite happy and got the gift I wanted, which is some Nike socks. That's literally what I wanted, and I got it. My feet are so comfortable right now, and warm. It's a little chilly out today, but that's besides the point. Let's go ahead and get to it. We are going to bring back our old segment where Andre gives us his take as to what's newsworthy, what's worth talking about, and what is worth brisking past on this Tuesday evening. And so let's go ahead and get started. And after that,
Yeah,
we will talk about what has been catching our eye since Christmas break.
yeah. But
So,
before we get into that, let's
oh,
let's do a little bit of some housekeeping. If you want to hit us up on Instagram, you can follow us at the underscore shot callers. Follow us on Twitter at the Shot Caller Show at Shot Caller Show. And if you need to send us an email, you can reach us at shotcallarshow@gmail.com. Don't forget, if you're listening to us on YouTube, you can follow us on Shot Callers, and don't forget to rate,
rate and
give us a
review
rating, review,
on a podcast feed,
comments,
Apple,
questions. Yep, Apple, what? Uh,
Apple, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Radio.com, Breaker. That's
Google
all out there.
Podcasts, all those. Yeah.
Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. Get some interactions going on there, and we'll always respond. I promise. And so let's go ahead and get it going. Inspired by one of my favorite longtime podcast news shows that you can catch on ESPN or previously on podcast form, Jalen and Jacoby, we're going to bring back Hit the Brakes or Keep It Moving. And for those first time listeners or new listeners to the show, I give Andre a little tidbit and he lets me know if it's worth talking about or should we just move on to the next subject. So, Andre, yesterday, on a particularly tough defensive closeout against the Spurs or against the Nets, the Grays, getting me confused. John Morant came down on an ankle, twisted it, immediately got up, rushed, and hopped off the court. Sort of collapsed in the kind of walkway entering the court, and was actually sent off on a wheelchair. Is this news, Andre? Should we talk about this? Hit the brakes or keep it moving?
Let's just give it a little bit of time. So I didn't really expect the Grizzlies to make the playoffs. They probably would have been in contention for that ninth seed spot to fight the play-in game. But you hate to see such a young player or any player get injured. And after he had such a great rookie season, hopefully it's not something too bad. Hopefully he can be back within a couple weeks, months. We'll see. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
you just hate to see that kind of thing.
today on Tuesday, it actually came back. Wojnarowski reporting 3 to 5 weeks with a grade 2 ankle sprain. And when I was initially thinking maybe just a couple weeks, optimistically, that means he's going to be missing games. The Grizzlies are going to be missing him and, of course, Jaren Jackson Jr. against the red hot Sexland Cavaliers, the Charlotte Hornets, who
Damn.
are 2-1, I think, but they were looking hot with Gordon Hayward. They're missing a back-to-back against the Lakers. Like those are not going to be easy games to win, even with John Morant out there. So let's hope that in this abbreviated season, this abbreviated schedule, it's not an insurmountable climb, especially since they have the 9 and 10 seeds to fight for as well. They are firsthand, they have firsthand knowledge about how they can earn their way into the playoffs, being bested last season or in the bubble by the Portland Trailblazers. So maybe they could do that and kind of bust some brackets that way. But it's going to be tough sledding, especially if it takes on the longer side 5 weeks. I wasn't even looking ahead
Yep.
at weeks 3 through 5. All right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Little trial by fire for some of their young guys. Just give them a chance. So
Kyle
yeah.
Anderson. If you haven't picked up Kyle Anderson, they're running their offense through him. He knows how to do it. He's been part of an institutionalized offense with San Antonio in the past, and he was looking pretty nice, putting up a lot of shots last night. And I wonder if they're going to do that going forward. Next up, Andre, kind of related. I talked about the Nets already. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving missed that game, a national TV game in the shortened season. Uh, is this worth talking about? Should we hit the brakes or should we keep it moving?
Well, talk about it a little bit. So this, you know, Kyrie had his whole thing with the media, and then he comes back, apologizes, and he's courteous to the media. And Then you have KD who has this thing with the TNT crew last week with Chuck. I don't know if you guys saw anything about that, but they kind of picked on him for being lackadaisical in the way he answered the questions in the post game interview. So it makes me wonder: is this some kind of protest for them? At this point, they should recognize, the repercussions. Adam Silver's gone out on the limited stress. Hey, if it's a nationally televised game, you guys need to make yourselves available. You're the stars, right? So, I I doubt both of them are injured. I kind of see them
Yeah,
maybe
it was just rest.
thinking they
They
can take
definitely
a
weren't
rest,
injured.
right?
No way.
Yeah, right. They're just taking rest because John Morant's out, and they think they could probably beat. I mean, or Brooklyn is a deep team. They probably think they can take the Grizzlies without those two playing. But I mean, you got to factor in Dinwiddie being injured as well. I don't know. This is kind of sketch on their
I'm
part.
kind of down
How
on
do
it,
you feel
man.
about
Yeah, I'm
it? Yeah,
down. It's like if they're
yeah,
both not healthy, like I mean, the Nets are a formidable team. They're playing the Grizzlies, who obviously they don't take as a major threat, but could they rest Kyrie on Sunday and Kevin on Monday? They have played a lot
right.
of games. They've played several times since the start of the season. I think that's the fourth game this week or in the past 7 days since the season started last week. So there's definitely a case to be made. But if you're trying to get eyeballs and keep eyeballs on the NBA, even for someone that loves it as much as I do, it kind of feels like a whirlwind of games. There's so many games. There's probably 10 games on tonight. I haven't even looked at the full slate. But if there's even a chance where it's like, oh, these guys are both out, I'm not gonna watch. Like, there's so many other things that you could be watching. So
Yeah.
I think the NBA and Adam Silver definitely has a point. I don't think any repercussions are gonna come of it, unfortunately. I guess.
We'll
But
see.
we'll see. I mean, I would like to
Yeah.
have them stick to their guns and have us give us some compelling lineups to watch. Most nights out of the week. So I guess that's something to keep an eye on. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, Andre. Marquise Chris, backup forward on the, you know, the starstruck, the crestfallen, as thus far, Golden State Warriors, has a broken
Yeah.
leg and he's going to miss the remainder of the season. Should we hit the
Yeah.
brakes or just move past his
I just want to
misery?
say, man, I don't know what the Warriors did, what ritual they did to make it to the finals 5 years in a row, because it's just been bad juju, like bad for them. They moved from Oakland to San Francisco, the Chase Arena, like it's just been terrible for them since this happened.
I
So
literally have this written down. It says Cursed Chase Center, the Triple C.
yeah,
Ooh, should we just call it the
then
Triple C? They're playing at the Triple
Triple
C.
C.
Cursed
Man,
Chase
they need
Center.
Kyrie to come through with some saves or something, man, because
Put
they
some,
got some
burn some
some
incense
terrible
up there.
juju in that building.
And like
Terrible.
they're gonna get Draymond Green coming back soon anyway, and that's probably gonna alleviate a lot of problems that they've been having. And some of the
Right.
problems that they've been having are with other people that are actually on the court, which we might get into later on in this episode. But just a guy that can facilitate and fill that forward and center role depending on the lineups that they can roll out there. Kevon Looney, he's available, which is good. He's playing shortened minutes. I'm sure that's gonna ramp up as the year goes on, but just a definite mood killer. I'll say that much.
Right.
And then James Wiseman, he's been looking strong. He's been looking athletic.
Very good player.
Get to the
He's
rim. Um, I kind
might
of
end
have
up
some,
being their second option once the season once they get well established in the latter part because he's looking very good.
yeah, a little bit of a black hole. He has no assists yet. He has yet to have recorded his NBA assist as of the time of my note taking. But we'll see how it goes. It's a long season. The guy's got to learn. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep moving. So a seems like a same old story or a something that we keep revisiting. But Daryl Morey got in trouble for a tweet again. But he's not on the Rockets anymore. He's on a member, of course, as you might know, of the Philadelphia 76ers, president of basketball operations, a seemingly automated tweet congratulating James Harden on yet another accomplishment, all-time scoring list, something of the sort that got deleted just minutes after he posted it. Adam Silver and the NBA have come down with a $50,000 fine, citing player tampering, rules and agreements between rival teams and opposing players. Uh, what should we say about this, Andre? You want to keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Man, this dude need to just go ahead and marry James Harden because he don't give a damn. He's like just nothing but love letters to this guy. So, um, yeah. So I know like China are restricting 76ers games from being displayed now in the country
Yeah.
in protest of Daryl Morey again. So I don't know. I feel like this guy should have learned his lesson by now. I understand, um, trying to stand with a cause that you feel is right, but there's a time and place, and I'm not quite sure if this is the time for that. I'm not educated enough right now to speak on it myself. I usually try to, I want to practice what I preach before I want to lecture someone, but I don't know, man. I feel like he's making the same mistakes or just doing the same things he did before, and I wonder, you know, will there be escalating consequences for this?
I don't think so. I think this is kind of a separate incident, and it's just an example of the NBA trying to force, an iron fist in a weird way, which I don't agree with because it's as ridiculous as that fine that they put against the Bucks for tampering with, or sorry, with against
Uh,
the Kings for tampering with their own player when they were trying to make that trade for Bogdanovich. But just weird. Like you're going to enforce this, but you're not going to enforce the Kevin Durant thing, and this fine is going to be the same amount that they fined James Harden, $50,000 for his, lack of care regarding COVID-19 protocol and things like that when he was out at that birthday party and going to things and doing things that they expressly forbade in their handbook going into the season, a season that has so much importance and is unprecedented in so many ways. So I think it's just whack all the way around, and just turn off the scheduled tweets, man. Just we don't need to schedule anything or delete the drafts, whatever you got going on. So something's got to change, Daryl. You could change
he needs a
cities,
PR person
PR
to like
person, change
screen
cities,
his tweets before he submits them.
change apps. Like I'm sure if this was on MySpace, nobody would know. Like you know what I mean?
Right.
Just go to a different platform, LinkedIn, whatever.
Oh man.
All right, so let's go on to the next thing. Carl Anthony Towns dislocated wrist. Andre, do we keep it moving? Is this going to be the doom of the Timberwolves franchise that we should just stop talking about them all together, or do we hit the brakes?
I mean, Anthony Edwards was looking nice, but still the Timberwolves. I don't know. I just hate. I feel like Cat's been catching L's this whole year. It's hard to see that, but
Yeah, so I guess we're hitting the
I feel like this
brakes.
should heal up, right?
Just
Yeah.
we're just gonna. It's like gonna be a.
Was it his right or left hand?
It was
Do you
his.
know?
I think it was his right hand.
Shooting hand. Okay. Oh man, that sucks.
So we're gonna I guess do a California roll. Stop real quick and then keep going. 3-0 before he went down with this injury, and one of them is or one of them is including the game that he got injured in or after. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, Anthony Towns. All the Anthony's are mixing me up, but he's looking nice, man. He's got a shot falling. Somebody that can create in the post when Karl Anthony Towns is out on the perimeter, being that 3-point threat, stretching the floor, and then whenever they play up on Anthony Edwards just a little bit, he can get all the way to the rim and dunk. So he's got some athleticism. I'm really liking watching him. I'm liking watching, as I said earlier, on the Warriors. So yeah, I'm liking it, and I'm not burying him, but you know it's gonna be tough, just like it is for the Grizzlies. The West is loaded, loaded, loaded.
It is stacked. Yeah.
All right, so next up, Anthony Simons and Nasir Little both got their options picked up, or their next year guaranteed by the Portland Trailblazers for their third and fourth year player options or rookie extensions. Is this news, Andre? Do we hit the brakes? Or do we keep it moving?
Kinda, but I'm more interested on this in terms of Gary Trent Jr. because this dude is just a baller, and I'm surprised that this guy they couldn't come to an agreement and extension with him. I think he's going to test free agency this summer, and I was looking at his stats. I believe last night he finished what he was second in scoring. He was like 7 of 11, made 7 threes, 100% for three, something crazy like that.
Yeah, that dude is
Uh,
on fire like no other, man.
6'6", the perfect 3-and-D wing.
He's shooting almost 60% from three, 10 for 17
Yeah,
for the year, and it's only been 3 games, but it's
right.
wild. Like he is
But
a little streaky, but he's streaking right now, and you'll take it.
well, he showed that consistency last season as well. He was one of their most consistent shooting threats and their best defender.
And he looked great in the
Um,
bubble too.
yep. So I'm interested to see what they end up doing with him. Not to diminish Anthony Simmons and Nasir Little, but that's the guy who I'm looking at Portland that they have to lock down. They
Yeah,
need him.
so essentially we're
Yeah.
keeping it moving on those guys. You got to do what you got to do and get those guys to the end of their rookie contracts and let them test, either sign that qualifying offer or let them test restricted free agency. So they're just doing what they got to do. Let's move on to the next item, which is Spencer Dinwiddie. You kind of foreshadowed this earlier in the segment. Do we keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Uh, let's hit the brakes for just a bit. I think this could have a large impact on the Nets' potential, just because The remaining players, yes, you have Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie Irving, and you have Karis LeVert. But those are the guys you would think who would be injury prone, right? Spencer Dinwiddie's mostly been, pretty solid. So it's painful to see a guy like that who's that skillful, that good at creating and stuff, going out with an ACL tear when you still have all your other fragile guys left. So at this point, um, the Nets' ability to be, strong contenders for me is kind of shaky, just because you don't know how the rest of those guys are going to stand out. So obviously, we don't want anyone to get injured, but the guy who you did not expect to get injured got injured.
No,
So
you're
it's
totally
like,
right. It's a partially torn ACL in his right knee. He's supposed to have surgery next year or next week, sorry, and it could take him out the entire year because we're in the abbreviated season. Like I said, he's coming off the bench. Didn't seem to be super happy about coming off the bench. Reports surfaced already that Steve Nash is sort of talking him into a Manu Ginobili type role, where he's the first guy off the bench, runs the second unit, mixes in with the starters, and ultimately can finish the game as part of the final five. And me not being in the NBA, me not having the sort of confidence in myself that might be required to be one of the top 450 players in the world. That sounds great, right? But you want to be a starter,
right,
and he wants to maybe on another team if he has to. But they were really looking forward to a lineup like that. The Nets, from what I've seen so far in their games, um, have been playing a really good defense that's kind of on a string. The players are kind of locked in, and they do a lot of switching. Kevin Durant can switch multiple positions. Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, those are all kind of guys that have some size that can guard either 2 and 3 or 1 and 2, which is great. But what's so scary is that when they get a stop and they go on offense at the other end, they're switching off onto smaller defenders, bigger defenders. Their opponents now have to guard them, and if a small guy is on a big guy, and if that big guy is Kevin Durant, you're gonna panic. Like they're running down the floor, they got to get the right guy on the right guy. Kyrie Irving, if he's got a big on him or a bigger guy, he's gonna get right around him. He's slippery as a banana peel from Mario Kart. So those lineups, those transition cross matching, it's chaos anyway. And so Spencer Dinwiddie was going to be another guy that can take the ball and dribble, as opposed to being a spot up shooter. That was going to be maybe his strength that I was going to be watching for throughout the season. And when he can dribble, like he may not be as good of a spot up shooter as some other players are, as Joe Harris is, of course. But Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are fucking excellent spot up shooters. So put it in his hands and he'll dish it out to them. Or he's going to get wide open because you're not going to leave those guys. So I think this is going to have a pretty big impact. But I think that with some staggering, putting him, bringing Karis LeVert into the starting lineup and doing some staggers so that that rotation doesn't change up too much. I think Steve Nash is smart enough. I think Mike D'Antoni is smart enough to figure that sort of stuff out. But it's definitely something to watch. So we
yeah.
definitely we parked the car on that one. Let's
Like once again, they have a lot of depth, so they'll be able to adapt. Just
fi-
hopefully everyone stays healthy.
final thing, Andre. We've seen a lot of different hairstyles that have come out since quarantine started. Everyone's growing their hair out. You're growing your hair out. I'm growing my hair out. What do you think about Domantas Sabonis' hair, bro? You saw him get that game winner, that driving two, just a couple days ago. Celebrated, looking like Wolverine. That
Yeah,
that celebration was going viral on Twitter. Are you up or
man,
down
Logan.
on this man's hair?
Hey man, I'm with it. Dude looked feral out there, man. He looked exactly like Logan. That's probably a good comp. So man, there's been all kinds of crazy hairstyle changes like him. Or not Jokic, Nurkic. Nurkic is also a dude who changed it up some, but no, I like the cut. I think Sabonis looking good out there. He's a new star in Indy, so gotta change it up.
Nurkic's hair is kind of lighter, right? You mentioned Nurkic, right? It's like a lighter
Yeah, it's
brown or
like
a lighter blonde.
fuzzy or shaggy, and I'm like, okay,
All right, so we're
yeah,
up on the hairstyles. All
yeah,
right,
I'm with it, man.
all right,
I'm
Andre.
with
I'll,
it.
I'll let you open up this next meat and potatoes segment of the show here. Christmas Day came and went. That was Friday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, extended weekend. Maybe not for everyone, but at least for us, because we don't record on Mondays. It's always an extended weekend here with the shot callers. What major teams, what major games, what major players have been catching your eye? What teams you've been keeping an eye on this week?
So I guess the most exciting thing or most highly talked about thing this weekend, outside of Kawhi, kind of splitting the inside of his lip,
Oh
Ibaka
man, that
kind of
was
got him. Yeah,
vicious, bro.
I couldn't look at that, man. Ibaka sliced his mouth open with his elbow like it was a
It was
knife.
like a box
That was
cutter.
bad. Yeah,
Like
that was
there
terrible.
was so much blood. Like I first saw when he was kind of laying on the ground with his arm to his side before seeing the impact, and the blood was on
Hmm.
his face, and there was blood all over his arm. and on the
Mm-mm.
court. Like there was so much.
It was like a puddle, just like ugh.
He ended up
I was like,
getting
damn, man.
8 stitches, and it
Yeah.
was definitely scary. You thought he might, I haven't heard anything about a concussion protocol. They say he'll just be back momentarily. He was sitting on the bench, supporting his teammates in that Sunday matinee game that I'm sure you're about
A
to
lot of support that did.
that you're about to reference right now. I said matinee,
Yeah.
but Andre is about to say massacre. So please let us know what you're about to say, Andre.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a massacre. If you haven't heard about it now, you should. I'm sorry, you've been under a rock or something. So Mavericks beat the Clippers this past weekend. I believe that was Sunday's game. They had a 50-point lead at halftime. That is like a record for the largest halftime deficit. Um, Kind of not what I was expecting from that team, especially having the Mavericks start the way they did, struggling with offensive rebounds. They lost to the Lakers on Christmas Day. Richard, you guys talked about this a little bit.
Hmm.
They gave up 35 points to offensive rebounds. So it was nice for me as a Mavericks fan to see them come back and compete on that side of the floor. But it wasn't even just that; it was just a complete demolition. Uh, their defense created offense. Everyone was locked in. Josh Richardson was like great.
Dude, that guy might
Defending
be
the
my favorite
perimeter.
Maverick. He's
Yeah.
definitely my favorite, newcomer, but that guy is shooting with confidence, driving to the rim, using his
He's
size. I said a bunch about this on Christmas, even in those losses that had been suffered at that point, that I thought he was a bright spot.
hmm
And he seems really, seems to be really vibing with the team. You see him around Luca a lot. Everyone loves Boban, like those clips that go around on the different Instagram feeds where they're all kind of just horsing around in practice or in scrums and huddles and stuff like that. I think he's really enjoying his new setup. It's not something that I saw or that stood out to me when he was playing in Philadelphia. So I think he's really liking it. What else were you saying, Andre?
Just the gameplay of the team in general. You see a noticeable difference in terms of the defensive effort, and I can credit that to Josh Richardson, James Johnson, kind of help defining the culture and challenging the rest of the players, our younger players who've been there a little bit longer, getting that experience in the bubble to be more intense on that side of the floor. And you saw that lead to like crazy transition offense back to back to back. They kept the Clippers. They held the Clippers down to I think it was 3 or 4 field goals in the first half. Something crazy like it was no, it was 7. It was really bad. Um, but yeah, on the Clippers side, obviously they were missing Kawhi because getting his jaw split open. But I'm not sure they're going to be able to compete in the West because if Kawhi's not there to create, and that's not even like his dominant skill. Like creation, that's not his thing. His thing is ISO scoring and defense. If they and if Kawhi's your lead guy on that, I mean they were missing Morris as well. I'm not sure if you're a legit top threat in the West because they didn't really have anyone creating. It was a lot of ISO ball. A lot of players just taking turns, trying to post up, maybe run a pick and roll, run a screen, no ball movement, anything like that. So it's hard for me to feel confident about the Clippers moving forward, just because their style of play just hasn't been able to translate to wins. Their leadership doesn't look much different from last year. It looks even worse. And I'm just wondering, are they going to be able to, be consistent going forward?
Yeah, they've got a couple tough games coming up. They're going to play against Minnesota on Tuesday, of course, the time we're recording this. They got Portland coming up, which should prove to be a tough game. Damian Lillard and company are no joke. I'm excited to kind of touch on them and their Laker game coming up. And then after that, they got Utah, who's kind of rounding into form and really enjoying having Bojan Bogdanovic on their side where they didn't have him in the bubbles. But yeah, so Andre, what you're saying is, Rich, you were wrong to be high on the on the Clippers, and you were right in the first place. You had them down towards the eighth seed or somewhere pretty low,
I think I had them like 5 or 6, something
or
like
just
that.
lower than where I had them. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
misspeak, but yeah, and so that's definitely concerning, and it's so easy to get down on the Clippers because when they have an interview like they did with Paul George after the game, he said, "We just were kind of out of sorts from not being able to celebrate Christmas the way that we might have wanted to," and blah 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 blah. Like it just that's not what you want to hear. The first sentence he said was, it's on me for not being ready. I take blame for the loss. That's the first thing you want to hear, right? But
Yeah.
it just it doesn't seem as though a team that has the metal, to find it within them to overcome multiple, series adversity of multiple 7 game series is going to be down 27 to 72 at halftime. It's
Yeah.
hard. You can go back to games where, or to series or seasons where teams like the Grizzlies and the Spurs have had incredible blowout losses early in the season, and those teams have come up to win 48 games. Abbreviated seasons, 50 games. In the case of the Grizzlies, but those teams didn't make the finals and win the finals. They kind of were a first round exit, second round exit.
Right.
So this doesn't bode well if history has anything to go by. But history doesn't necessarily matter in this case because we have such an abbreviated season. They've chopped 2 months off the schedule and only cut 10 games from the schedule. So we've got back to backs. We've got back to backs where both teams or both games are played in Brooklyn as opposed to traveling around the city. So there's so many things that have changed, and it's going to be something to watch for.
Right. And I don't want to harp on this for too much longer, but an interesting stat that was brought up was if the Mavericks never scored again in the second half, they still would have won just by the score deficit. So it's something that like that's a big red flag for a team that wants to be competitive. Like they didn't even have enough fire to come out after halftime to kind of close that gap really. So the gap was actually I think we won by what 51, 52, something crazy like that.
Yeah, the Mavericks
Uh,
won by I think 51 points, which is
yeah, so it's
insane.
like yeah, that's like crazy. Like that is not what you want to see, even without Kawhi. Like Mavericks still didn't have Porzingis, so that's not what you want to see. But we'll see. It was only the third game. We'll see if Ty Lue if he's just poking around, still trying to get his system implemented, uh, and if the Clippers can turn it around. But that's unprecedented for the NBA.
And so
Uh,
they're going to be implementing the triangle. And not to use just another buzzword that doesn't mean anything, but when we see some examples of the triangle get implemented, we will definitely bring them up on this show. On my side, and I might sound like a broken record here, but man, James Harden came back looking thick and looking like he can put a huge amount of balls in the basket, balls in other people's hands. Came back and it was a loss. He did lose. He lost to the Portland Trailblazers in an overtime thriller. CJ McCollum is outscoring Damian Lillard to this point in the NBA season, which is awesome if you're a Portland Trailblazer. Like that's great. Keep showing up and keep that longevity throughout the season. But 17 assists, tying his career high. Making Christian Wood look good already, but Christian Wood looks athletic. He looks more athletic and more versatile than Clint Capella. Looking more fluid than Dwight Howard did. Looking like the best center that they've had thus far. And before that, I was really high on Robert Covington as their stretch five, who is now in Portland too, which we might touch on. But just that game, and then they came back and played the Nuggets and lost again. James Harden has had a couple quotes saying, "Oh, my conditioning could be better," or it's been tough getting gelled as a team because we don't always have everyone together in practice. Like, whose fault is it that they're not all together in practice at the same time? There's always one guy
right.
missing. Who is it? Who is it, James? It's you. But as the season goes on, you expect that might change, and people that are super down on the Rockets, because you're partially thinking, he's going to get traded and they're going to go into the tank or try to salvage their cap space for their cheap owner, Tillman Fertitta. But if that doesn't happen, if he sticks around, if nobody can come to terms, if the Spencer Dinwiddie injury tanks a deal for between the Nets and the Rockets, like these guys could end up winning a lot of games. They could get a sixth seed, they can get a fifth seed, and that's not
Hey
a team
man.
that you are trying to play. Like no one's positioning themselves to want to play the Rockets. The Jazz have tried to dodge them twice now in the past few years. So, man, what do you think of those Rockets so far, Andre?
Hey man, it's like I said beginning in my predictions. I feel like if they were to ride it out with this team, they could legit make the playoffs and be a team you don't want to see like in that first round. They have the talent, and especially depending on how John Wall and Cousins play out. Wood obviously looks like a stud. They have the potential to make it first, second round.
Yeah, they've been missing
Um,
DeMarcus Cousins. They've been missing John Wall. That's their point guard and backup center, man. They've had Daniel House limited, or sorry, Daniel House has been playing a lot. Jayshawn Tate has been playing a lot, over 35 plus minutes for both of those guys. It's like their starters are playing a bunch of minutes, which isn't uncommon for James Harden. Of course, we all know he's got super high minute totals, except in the Portland game, or sorry, except in the Denver game, he only played 32 minutes and still put up quite a stat line, which is no surprise. But yeah, there's a lot of gelling that's going to have to take place. So I don't know, man. They're going to be one of the hardest ones to predict. But just one last thing about Christian Wood, man, he had a triple threat position on the right wing by the corner three. He dribbled right around Yusuf Nurkic. Yusuf can move his feet. He's not the fastest guy on the court, but he doesn't often get blown by like that, and he went all the way in for a dunk. So Christian Wood, James Harden. I think that's a great pairing, and it'll be fun to watch.
Yep, definitely. You can't write them off yet. Houston, don't trade them yet. Don't trade them.
It would just wouldn't look
Uh,
right anywhere else.
yeah,
James Harden in a non-Houston strip club. I don't want to see it.
yeah. So I guess another team I want to talk about is the Lakers and the Warriors. Now these guys they haven't gone head to head yet, but I guess I'll start with the Lakers. I was watching a game with them. I believe was it yesterday, where
Monday's game.
yeah, it was Monday's game. And so they
LeBron.
lost Dwight Howard. They lost Dwight Howard.
Hmm.
They lost JaVale McGee, and you get Montrezl Harrell and Marc Gasol.
Oh, dude,
So
Marc
I
Gasol is
think
looking amazing.
Marc
He
Gasol was like
he was slow.
like perfect point center. He was looking like Jokic out there, man, just dropping dimes. And that team is going to be so versatile that it's going to be hard to beat them if they're healthy. Like his passing and his defensive presence in the paint gives them so like they have so much matchup potential just because of the versatility of all the player. So if they have a more agile big, they're going small ball. You can take Marcus Gasol, Harrell out, just play AD at the five, LeBron at the four, all that jazz. If they need to, go a little bit heavier, against Denver, you got Gasol at the five who can match up well against Jokic and help run the offense with LeBron. It's like
And then Anthony
I
Davis could
don't
be on the floor too. And how's Michael Porter Jr. going to guard Anthony Davis? Like it's impossible.
exactly.
You got to
It's
have
like
Marc Gasol still stretching the floor. Marc Gasol had a slow start, but his defensive instincts are on display. His passing skills on display. He's going to shoot when he's wide open. He's going to make some of them. He had several threes. I believe it was on Sunday or was it on Monday?
yeah, he was.
Um,
Yeah, he didn't miss any.
Diamond up LeBron. LeBron, like I know he's enjoying having
Was
two
cutting. Yeah,
centers that can either be the recipient of his passes for three, can make plays for others, and can like dude, he's a match made in heaven. Seeing that one picture going around where Kobe was high fiving Pau Gasol and then LeBron was high fiving Marc Gasol, like, you know, it must feel good if you're a Lakers fan. Like, yes, they lost to the Trailblazers yesterday on Monday, which is a pretty close game. LeBron was shooting some threes, making some plays, doing things that LeBron is skilled at doing, finding open guys in the corner. Anthony Davis was kind of a no-show. 13 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. The 10 rebounds and 5 assists doesn't sound like a no-show, but if you just watch that game, if you watch something a little more substantial than just the highlights, he was half jogging down the court. I feel like it was second
right,
quarter and he wasn't breaking a sweat.
right.
And not very active as far as the other elements of the game. I don't think he recorded any blocks. Like just sort of checked out. 1 for 2 from the free
Yeah,
throw line. What does that tell you? It means you're not going hard to the rim, trying to draw the contact. So it may be hard to motivate themselves as they have the swagger of a championship team. Anthony Davis knows what it's like to win. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's feeling the effects of a long season. He did miss a game already due to some sort of a knee soreness or something like that due to a collision that he had on opening night. So maybe they're taking it slow, but I think that with players that have the experience that they do, Marc Gasol championship experience, Anthony Davis championship experience, they're gonna go into the playoffs and be a freaking steamroller against anybody that they can
yeah,
play.
yeah. It's hard to imagine a team being able to compete with them right now. They've got the tools. So as long as people are shooting well, people stay healthy, they're going to be a hard team to beat. But
So
I mean, you got to play the team in front of you. Still basketball, so everyone they still got what 70 more games to play. So
you're
we'll
right. You're
see.
right. So you mentioned
Yeah,
two teams here. How come you're not talking about the Warriors, at Andre? Are they not that
I do
exciting?
want to talk about the Warriors, but man, I might have to reevaluate my stance
Mm.
on them. I was pretty optimistic, even despite Klay Thompson getting injured. And I'll caveat this with saying that we still haven't seen Draymond Green play, but they just got a win tonight, and they got another win. I believe it wasn't yesterday. It might have been Sunday.
They got
Uh,
they got 2 wins.
yeah, they got 2 wins already, but it hasn't been pretty basketball, man. I expected a little bit more from Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre in terms of playmaking, shooting consistency, and just moving with the ball a little bit, playing more intelligent. But from what I've been watching from them, it's been a lot of contested shots, shooting the ball earlier in the shot clock. contested when you have Steph Curry running around,
Mhm.
setting off screens and stuff, and creating open shots for him. You got
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
best shooter in the world, and then they're over there just taking the ball and chucking it up
Yeah, yeah,
every
yeah.
opportunity they can,
No, you're
and
right.
it's been bad. Oubre just made his first three
Hey,
today,
you're taking
so he
my
was like,
stats over here. This is not included in today's game. They did just beat the Pistons. That was the second win. I just updated my NBA app right now to see what you're talking about. Yeah, man. Before tonight's game, combined 4 for 30 for threes for Oubre and Wiggins. They were shooting for players that have more than 10 layups so far this season. They had the worst percentages. Number one, Oubre. Number two, Wiggins for layups amongst anyone in the league going into tonight. So that's crazy. They're getting shots when they have time to let Steph do his thing, draw two or three defenders, and shoot. But you know those balls weren't going in. Are they going to go in? History says with Andrew Wiggins, they're not going to go in at a very efficient pace. But it's crazy. Like you were saying that they're just chucking it up contested threes when Steph Curry still has an action to be run. Draymond Green being in the lineup on the right wing is going to skip the ball ahead around the next defender to Steph Curry coming off a pin down from Marquise Chris. Kelly Oubre shot that shot. So that's just
mm-hmm.
one difference right there, and you can go back and see that in their second game of the season. So I'm definitely not writing them off, but the questions I have still remain, and I don't mean to harp on this, but it's if it doesn't change, Steph Curry doesn't have the body type, the physical skill set and tools. Just like I don't have the physical tools to play in the NBA, Steph Curry doesn't have the physical tools to go to the free throw line 14 times a game the same way that
Right,
Giannis does, the same way that Harden does, the same way that LeBron can. It just isn't the same. So
right,
that's why he can take a good team and make them great, or take a great team and make them, historic all time. But maybe he cannot take a team that shoots this way with the injuries that they have, the non-shooters like Kevon Looney, and take them to the seventh seed. Maybe that's just not possible with the way that he's constructed. So
right. So yeah, that Warriors offense is constructed to run in a certain way, and if the pieces aren't playing to the way the offense is tailored, then it blows everything up. So it's like you said, Curry doesn't have the body type to absorb all that contact and get to the line and all that stuff consistently.
although he
He's
can,
gonna he's gonna break. He can, but he's gonna break down. He's
yeah.
not as durable as Harden and LeBron. Like we're not gonna pretend.
But I do like
Um,
seeing Steph Curry, play 2 point kind of attack basketball because he can catch the ball within the 3 point arc, and he's such a terrific shooter from all ranges. His guy is like right up on his chest. Like it looks like they're in the club. Like they're right up on each other. And as soon as he pump fakes, that guy's going
he's
straight in the
already
air.
yeah, it's done.
He's gonna go
Yeah,
right past him. So that definitely is there, and it's fun to see. So there definitely is still a reason to tune into these Warriors games, even if the record isn't going to be great. It's going to be fun seeing the antics of Draymond Green. Like Draymond Green,
I'm
when
not
he's,
gonna write him off yet.
I'm not
I'm
either.
not gonna.
All I'm
Yeah.
saying is it's fun to watch Draymond Green wilding out there because when they're good, it's like maddeningly funny because he's always setting these illegal screens and stuff. And when they're bad, he's just doing horrible stuff. Like those shots are looking crazy careening off the backboard. So he's gonna fit right in with Andrew Wiggins if he's not shooting right this year like he was a few years ago. So I'm excited to see that. That's for sure.
Bright
Uh,
spot, James Wiseman. Dude has been
he's
he's been
been
their
good.
second best player.
He hasn't
So,
recorded an assist like I said, and he
but he's been
is
efficient.
he's been efficient. That's true. And one thing I was wondering and something I was reading is I'm not a draft expert. I'm not here at the combine measuring all these guys jumping, heights at standing and running. But when he goes to dunk, he dunks with two hands most of the time, which is fine. But that is an indication of someone that can't pound the ball the way that Kawhi Leonard or Michael Jordan, Rudy Gobert, Amari Stoudemire can and throw those dunks home. So I wonder how much verticality he can get when he's going towards the rim like that. So is he a lob threat? Draymond Green knows how to throw lobs. We know this. Throwing them to JaVale McGee in years past, and even sometimes even to Sean Livingston when that guy had good knees. But it just makes me wonder about all the different wrinkles that can happen when that team is firing on all cylinders. I wonder if he's gonna grow a little more and get some more hand size because I can pound the ball. but not very well.
Yeah, I can palm it. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's interesting. Yeah.
I just had a couple tidbits, man. The Raptors, they are going to play the Sixers Tuesday night as we speak. It should be wrapping up. We might have the outcome of the game, but they, as of me speaking, have not won a game, and those guys are looking rough. Andre, what's up with Tampa Bay? Is it the water? What are you about to say?
They still ain't won because Philly won.
I mean, great, good for Philly, but man, the Raptors are 0 and 4, 0 and 3, 0 and 4, 0 and 3
I
now,
mean,
and yeah, man,
they lost Ibaka. They lost
Marcus
Gasol. I
Gasol
mean, they replaced him with who,
with
what's
that
his
with Aaron
name?
Baines, man.
Aaron
He,
Baines. Yeah.
he was an Embiid stopper in Boston. Joel Embiid was like, "Get out of my shirt!" Like, you know what I mean? And I haven't seen the rundown of the game that just happened, but it kind of been too good. And before that game being recorded, these guys are ranked 26th in points, so not a terrific offense, 106 average, and then 20th in opponents' points per game, allowing 116 per game. So that's an easy one, but it's easy to just look at the point totals and be like, this is bad. But they're not getting the free throw line, man. They're ranked 30th in free throw attempts. That
And
means,
I think historically, I didn't mean to
yeah,
cut
no,
you
go
off, but
ahead.
historically, the 76ers have the personnel to really take it to the Raptors. Like that 2019 run game, and I know a lot of the, not a lot, but some of the personnel has changed in terms of Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green leaving Toronto, and then you got like Jimmy Butler and oh yeah, it was just Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick leaving Philly.
Philadelphia.
But the core for both of those teams still there for the most part, and that core, that Philadelphia core, has consistently been able to kind of hold the Raptors down. Like even you go into that playoff series, it was a lot of Kawhi having to create and isolate against them. And I wonder if Embiid and Ben Simmons out there on Kyle Lowry, and then you got Embiid behind him to kind of stop him from getting to the rim, or Ben Simmons on Siakam or anything like that. Like it just makes it difficult for them to score. So I wonder, without being able to consistently stretch the floor and get an open shot, I wonder if the Raptors have what it takes. It just feels like a bad matchup for them.
That's true, but I mean, as well as the Knicks might be playing to this point, they're still the Knicks. The Knicks are gonna nick or clip is gonna clip. You can say that about any team, any historically
Right.
bad team, but they're playing the Knicks coming up, and that's gonna be their shot at redemption, at least in my eyes. Like they need to get to the free throw line, man.
Hey
Siakam needs
man.
to go back to spinning and winning. Kyle Lowry,
Hey,
he can put his
you
body on
think
the line.
that
Oh, go ahead.
you think Siakam can spin harder than Julius Randle? Knicks are undefeated, man.
Yeah,
Knicks are undefeated.
I guess so. But hey, at one point, the process Sixers were also undefeated. They were 3-0 in the first year of our Lord and Savior Sam Hinkie showing up,
Oh,
and people were like, "Oh my God, this is great," and it wasn't. we know it wasn't. So it's gonna be a long season, and these teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sexland. Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. And I've said this plenty of times. Long-time listeners of the show know I don't watch college basketball. But sometimes a name just kind of sticks out to me, and it makes me a fan when I do some cursory reading before the draft. And
was Zion?
Zion, yeah, the Zion draft, but Darius Garland, I was high on because I thought New Orleans was going to take him if they didn't win the lottery. And then another one, this is several years back, but OJ Mayo. He didn't end up panning out, but just the fact that he had a cool name, it made me. I was in, so I'm in on Darius Garland. That dude is leading their team in assists, man. He's averaging 8 assists per game. Yeah, Drummond has 4 assists, who was actually outpacing Colin
Wish
Sexton,
Sexton
and
passed
that was
more.
actually
Yeah.
the knock against Sexton in years past. But watching them, man, those guys play fast. JB Bickerstaff, the perennial backstabber, the guy that it shows up when your coach gets fired and he gets promoted to interim head coach. He's got his first full time head coaching job. Those guys are playing fast. It's looking fun. Andre Drummond has been a victim of being on the Pistons since the year 2006. No one pays attention to him anymore. And so he doesn't seem like a sexy name, a sexy player. He's only 27 years old. He's not 45. He is athletic. He can run the floor. When he runs the break, no one's giving him the highlights. Nobody's giving him the attention. There's no Instagram stories featuring Andre Drummond running the break like there are if it's Giannis or if it's Joel Embiid. The most coverage that Andre Drummond gets is when he's getting posterized by Joel Embiid. Like that's the best that
Right.
he can do. But if you get a chance and you're about to start your basketball night and it's 6:30 and you're like, oh, I'll wait for the TNT games to come on. If you can catch the Cavaliers during this NBA League Pass free preview, do it, man. So those guys are flying up and down, and it's only going to be more so when now that Kevin Love is out for 3 weeks with a strained calf. So he'll be reevaluated. I wonder what that means for the future. JaVale McGee's making threes. Like, I used to be super down on JaVale McGee, but now he's only playing about 16 minutes a game. He's not trying to do too much, and he doesn't try to do too much. He shot that
Yeah,
1 3, sure, but he's not letting 5 of them fly per game. He's going for lobs, trying to get good dunks, catch some lobs, and trying to keep his feet in position. So those guys are looking and also the god Chetty Osman. That's all that needs to be said. They are entertaining. Sex land. I'm in.
yeah, love my man Jetty. Yeah, man, Cavs are good. They caught their first L today against the Knicks, but apparently a very exciting team to watch. I need to get some time and go ahead and look at them. Kind of wish I would have caught that game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do consistently.
All right,
See
so
what Sexton's up to.
well, that's been fun to figure out what we've been watching over the weekend. We'll catch you guys next week, of course, with another round. But before that, we're gonna bring back another often requested segment, one of our most popular ones of all time, and we both know what it is. Andre, say it with me.
Rich's
Riches
bits.
bits. Yeah, you got it. You got it. You got it. All right. So look, these are just things. These are just thoughts that come into my brain. I can't help it. Like, I just think these
Little
thoughts,
bits
and
of
I
data.
gotta write it down. Like, so I said this on the last podcast, and I mentioned how unfortunately, during draft time, you'll hear an analyst or a draft expert comparing a prospect, like at the time Andrew Wiggins, to a well-known player, so that the person listening can relate. So at the time, Andrew Wiggins was drawing a bunch of Michael Jordan comparisons. A lot of Maple Jordan was his nickname coming out of Canada. Looking like Kobe Bryant because of the footwork, and he does have good footwork. That's great, but it's unfortunate because it can at times put an unfair expectation. But I wanted to twist it the other way. If you were a prospect, Andre, if you were the GM of a team, if you were a fan of a team, and there was a guy coming your way, what kind of uh, comparisons would you not want to hear? So I've got two famous ones to kind of get you in the mood to see if it inspired anything from you. But I mentioned this a few podcasts ago, but when Anthony Edwards, who was looking nice, I'll give him his props, was drafted, the experts that day was like, he's got questions about his IQ, he's got questions about his athleticism, he's got a low motor, doesn't look like he can make plays, and his shooting selection is suspect. Like, what's good? He's the number one pick. Come on.
Right?
All right, so you don't want that. Another one. Uh, what if you had a guy that said, all right, he's got a great shooting touch, he's got nice hands, good handle, but he's got a motor like Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, that guy's a ghost. That guy does not run hard. Everything looks too easy for him. Doesn't run very hard, like I said. You don't want that. Any other comparisons that come to mind, Andre?
What about Yeah, man, he's got the handles of Kyrie Irving, the the defensive Andre
Ooh,
Roberson,
I like this.
but he got that jump shot of Ben Simmons with the green light of Steph Curry.
Oh. I thought you were going to say the jump shot of Andre Roberson, too.
Oh yeah, that would have been good shit.
What about, okay. He's got
Well,
the
let's.
team leadership of Tim Duncan. He's got the, genuineness and attitude, the playfulness of a guy like Shaq or good heart of a guy like Dirk. But he's got the situational awareness of Chris Webber, calling timeouts
Oh
when there
no.
when there aren't any.
Oh no. Yeah, that one's pretty bad. Oh man.
Oh man! All right,
What about All right, here's one. He's got the let's see. He's got the dance moves of Cameron Payne.
ooh,
Yep, that's all right.
that sounds
Yeah.
bad to me.
Got
'Cause- okay,
got the playmaking skills of Steve Nash, but he's got the defense of 2014 James Harden.
Mm. Before the memes, dude, this poor guy, whoever that is. All right. Okay, how about this? He's got the clutch shooting of LeBron James, the clutch shooting of Kobe Bryant. He's got the rock solid availability of a guy like John Stockton, the old Iron Man. But he's got the deer in the headlights look in the clutch like Eric Bledsoe. When it's time to make a play, that ball's just going out of bounds. Or,
Oh man.
I got another one. It's a big guy. He's got the footwork of Hakeem Olajuwon. He's got the height of Bol. He's got the height of Boban, but he's got the post touch of Dwight Howard. That's
Oh
just a
shit.
rock coming off the
Oh
backboard.
no, Plank.
All right.
Plank. Oh man, I think you got me beat on this one.
Okay, I got one more. Last one. Last one. Last one. It's
Okay.
another big guy. It's another big guy. He's got the height of Will Chamberlain. He's got the hook shot of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But on defense, he's got the tunnel vision of Hassan Whiteside.
Oh man,
Just
pump
always out of
faking all
position.
day, just staying in the air, just always in the air, man.
All right, all right. Okay, so that's it for that one. Thank you for indulging me on these comps.
Yeah.
But I want to hear
Oh
more of that.
man.
I want to hear that for the guys at the bottom of the draft. The numbers 45 through 60. I want to hear all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So this was a little different. I wonder if you can come up with something on the fly. So I was just thinking about a player's worst nightmare. Like, what could it be for an individual player? Because we always talk about how a team has inspirations of this or that. They want to, get to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time, or come back, or repeat as finals champions, make the playoffs, whatever the goals might be. They want to get the number one pick. But when it comes to a one player wanting to achieve something in particular, you hear about incentives that go into player contracts, like winning most improved player. In the case of Markel Fultz in his latest extension, wanting to make the All Star team, wanting to make the All Rookie team. Jason Tatum, just a couple years ago, was on the verge of knocking LeBron James out of the playoffs, and then LeBron's clutchiness came right in. He dunked it, shot that
Close
three,
it out,
whatever he
man.
did, sealed it up. He won. Then LeBron left the East. He went to the West. Great. Jason Tatum, Eastern Conference Finals again. Boom. Great. They missed it though. He ended up getting blocked by Bam Adebayo, and that was the year that Kevin Durant was injured. But now Kevin Durant is back. Like, what kind of a nightmare is that? You lose LeBron, and now you got KD in the way. Like, is he going to be able to make the finals? Is he going to be able to win MVP? Is he going to be able to make the NBA All Star team and be MVP? Like, what is something that you think uh, is getting in someone's way, or someone's worst realities coming to fruition on an individual basis? What's the worst case scenario?
I think this is a good one. So let's take Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis.
Mm,
So both of those guys were on OKC together.
yeah.
Both of them kind of had lackluster seasons with OKC. Sabonis wasn't really used correctly. Oladipo really hadn't taken that next level in terms of dedication to fitness, diet, and improving his game. So next season they traded to Indiana. Oladipo comes out as an all-star but gets injured and stuff. Roll time for about 3 years. Oladipo's on a contract year. Sabonis is a star,
God, 3 years.
and yeah, and it's contract year for Oladipo. He goes from being the darling of Indiana and being like, love it here, things like that. Now it's like you hear trade rumors and everything. So for me, it's the fear is after coming from so low and then going high again, becoming an all-star, putting a franchise on your back, and then trying to get back to that at least an all-star level in your contract year. How terrible is that for a player in terms
And
of
he's
facing two
got Hugh
injuries?
Jackman, Wolverine, on the other side, taking all his dollars. Like,
Oh no, he
man.
was Black Panther, and you got Wolverine. You know people like Wolverine, eh?
So you're saying it's Domantas Sabonis the usurper? He's the stuff
He
of
is,
nightmares for
man.
Victor Oladipo, is what you're saying?
Sir.
Nice, that's a good one, Andre. I never would have thought
Yeah.
about that one. All right, so the East, what nightmares are made of. All right, my final thing, my final bit here. All right, you all know, or you know for sure, Andre, that there's just certain things that get on my nerves, and they're small things, but you know, I always try to express them and make sure everyone knows when I'm irritated. And dude, one of them, maybe you have one that's kind of like mine. It could be about the NBA, NBA adjacent, outside the NBA, watching the NBA, talking to people about the NBA, whatever. But it's like, look, you talk about players, you talk about their skill sets. He's a great shot maker. He has great passing ability, great vision, great leadership, whatever. Culture guy, culture setter. But when someone's talking about an individual player's skills, a playmaker like Chris Paul, when they use
Hmm.
the word or the verb of what they can do, he can make shots, he can playmaker. He's a playmaker, right? He can make plays. I just don't feel like that's something that gets said in any other instance. Like, so you take a chef, right? You take someone that can bake cakes. You don't say he can
I'm a
cake
cake
bake.
maker.
Nah, you wouldn't say that. So anytime they say he can play make, like, that's not a real verb. I'm out. I don't like that. So that's my pet peeve when people you say
If
the
it ain't
word
in
playmate.
Webster's, I ain't about it.
Is there any
I ain't about it.
is there anything like that, Andre? Because if you have something, let me know. If you don't, I got one more.
I got something a little bit more like common, and for me, it's like you watch those nationally televised
Mm.
games, and there's like a referee makes a questionable call and he gets challenged, and then the homie Steve Javi comes
Oh,
on and is like, the book says that the guy was moving forward and landed in his restricted area, and I think the refs got this one right. So I'm gonna wait until they announce what the verdict is, and I'm gonna say yeah he got the right call, and I'm pretty much gonna lie to the crowd because in the 2 minute review they gonna be like yeah I was wrong, but no one reads that. I hate that, man.
nobody follows
Like
NBA
just
refs on Twitter.
yeah man. Yeah, man. They be straight lying to people, man.
You're right.
And
But
I
hey,
really hate that.
if you want someone to, be down for you, Steve Javi. He is
That's the
loyal.
dude, man. He's ride or die, man.
He
He'll take all the hate. He's the Mitch McConnell of the
he
NBA.
is the fall guy that goes to court on behalf of your drug organization. I'll tell you that much.
Exactly,
All right, my
man.
final one. This is
My
very
man
simple.
Bird.
Mark Jackson sucks. Like it is so bad, and it only took 3 minutes into the Lakers game on Christmas. On Christmas? Yeah, for me to come to this conclusion. I've known this for a long time. You can ask Jonathan. Jonathan, our old co-host JV, he tweeted Mark Jackson sucks so much that Mark Jackson blocked him on Twitter. And I got one example here. Pretty simple. The NBA on TNT slash ABC, not TNT, the ABC ESPN crew commentating on the Laker game. Great. It's the usual suspects: Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mike Breen. Mike Breen's like, so guys, what do you think about Dennis Schroeder? And I think I'm up on Dennis Schroeder. I think he's got good energy, good touch. And then Mark Jackson has to come in and be like this. He's like, oh, I like Dennis Schroeder, right? It's a good signing. I like it. Gets him through the regular season. But if I'm the Lakers in the clutch time, I'm giving the ball to LeBron in those moments. I'm giving it to LeBron. He's a Hall of Famer. He's earned it. Blah blah blah. Yeah, we fucking know he's earned it, Mark Jackson. He's LeBron James. Like he's been around for 15 plus years. What does that got to do with Dennis Schroeder? Just talk up Dennis Schroeder. You don't gotta bring him a negative by comparing him to the top three, top two, top one player of all time. Like we knew LeBron was good. Did you not know LeBron was good, Andre?
Nah.
Obviously,
I didn't even know he played for the Lakers.
obviously, it's my pet peeve because I'm angry. And so I'm so tired of this guy. I need someone to hire him. Can he be the next coach of the Orlando Magic when, they end up going in the tank and Steve Clifford moves on? Like, just get him off my broadcast. Somebody hire him. I'll hire him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my second point was commentators. Like obviously Mark Jackson, just sometimes he comes on the mic, he just doesn't sound enthused at all. I'm like, why is this dude on here? And then you got other commentators who just like forget players' names.
Oh, Marv
Some
Albert.
some of
Oh
these
my God.
commentators have some of these commentators have been doing it for longer than you and me have been alive, Richard.
Yeah.
Maybe combined. So it's like, why is he still on here?
Yeah.
Like just let Hubie Brown do them all.
I love
man.
Hubie. Hubie's so good. Hubie is cheering for the underdog in every game, and it's a little biased,
Yeah,
but I like it.
he had that Boston game on Christmas, and I was like, man, what a treat.
Even though he
This
had
guy.
that
Like,
raspy voice, I was like just
I,
feeling for
I don't
him.
care, man.
But
He
Mark,
talking.
but Marv Albert, man. I'm just glad Reggie Miller hasn't been on a broadcast that I've been listening to. But Marv Albert, that guy, props to him, casting these games from his home. They can't be easy, especially when you're not used to the technology or whatever. Just a new experience for him because he's been doing this for longer than me and you have been alive. But
All right.
unfortunately, whoever's running that broadcast, they were letting his breaths all over the broadcast. Like, I have the TV on kind of loud because my living room's a little spacious. And it's like, for three. Like,
They're saying it was a free throw.
it's like oh, yeah. But, like, he's, like, breathing in my house. Like, I can hear him. And it's like, it's coronavirus. I don't want to hear your breath right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's it for that. I didn't mean to bring us down to an angry point, but that's what's on my mind.
Yeah, fix your product, NBA.
Yeah, like put me on the call, man. Let me
Y'all want me to get AT&T? Fix your product.
let me tune this up. But anyway, that's it for this one. Coming up soon, just to tease what's in the future after Andre does this. After we're going to talk about the social media tags where y'all can follow us. But just to give you guys a little content tease, your boy finally completed his degree. He's got some more time on his hands, And oh, thank you very much, Andre. And I'm excited to try to bring you guys an additional episode in the coming future besides the one that Andre usually do with actually does with me, covering the news and roundup from the weekend. So stay tuned. Please like and subscribe on all our feeds. Subscribe on YouTube would be really great. Andre, can you give everybody the addresses before we get on out of here?
Yes, sir. Let's get it, boy. Hit us up on Instagram, the shot callers, Twitter, shot caller show, and Gmail us at shotcallershow@gmail.com. I don't know why that gets me every time. I don't know why. It's like I got to think, and
Yeah,
I see like the sign.
yeah,
I'm like, I was a in front in Twitter, and then like all this other. I'm like, oh my god.
yeah.
But
Thank you for
yeah,
the emails. And rate and review on iTunes. Really appreciate it, guys. So for me, Rich, for the man, the myth himself, Andre, we are the
that's
Shot
me.
Callers, and we'll see you guys next week.